right, guys. So, welcome to our first podcast here. It's a daughter and father podcast. The reason we're making this podcast is because we feel like we can relate to a lot of dads and daughters out there, Hispanic American, Mexican American. I beat that one up. Yeah, Mexican American. Let me introduce to you my daughter.
I'm Elsie. The daughter.
All right, so we're gonna take this a little bit back and sort of explain on, I'm gonna ask my daughter questions, she's gonna ask me questions, and we'll go from there. So Belsi, speaking to the audience, how was it being brought up? I'm a first generation Mexican American. You're a second generation Mexican American. I was born here. Your mom was born in Mexico. She comes at an early age. She makes that transition. Even though I was born here, I had a rough start with the transition because back in the day, my school didn't have programs where we can learn English. Thus, they sent us to special ed. So that's where they'd have a hard time figuring out that translation part of it. But so growing up, Elsie, from let's say the time you can start remembering, how was Elsie being raised? How was her childhood?
Age gap, like starting young or like?
Yeah. So as far as you can remember, let's say. I hate to bring this up, Elsie, but from the time you can remember that you didn't have your front teeth, because that's very common it seems like it's very common in our what's it called? What's that?
Timeline?
No, in our just generics.
Generics. Generics.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of Hispanics, anyways, the ones that I knew, seemed like we had bad dental. And so I remember not having my two front teeth for a while. My parents were G's. I was a silver tooth kid, and it's not true what they say about silver tooth kids because I feel like I was very mild.
Me too.
But yeah, so tell us about that experience, not having your teeth and why you were not able to smile. And
it built so many insecurities. Well, not so many because it was just like my front teeth, but like it was literally the first. I had no teeth in the front, so every time they'd be like smile, I'd be like no face expression of smiling whatsoever. I'd always be grumpy, the grumpiest little girl. Like I don't have one picture of me being like with my teeth showing.
If she gives us permission, we'll put a couple of baby pictures where she's just like pissed at the world. She was pissed at the world. So how was your experience other than that, like growing up? I don't know if you remember, we used to take you guys a lot to Mexico, visit family. Before it was more like visiting family, then it became more of just a travel type of situation. Tell us your experience as a young kid going to Mexico, because
I would love those trips. First of all, we definitely we would wear our seatbelts, but you guys would put like the Tahoe. We had the Tahoe back then, and
Silverado with the camper.
I remember that.
Oh, okay.
I remember the Tahoe. Relax, buddy. But I remember the Tahoe, and it put the front seats down so we could put like the maletas and all that, and then we put the seats in the back up, and we'd sleep in the back so comfortably. Our feet would literally be straight out, flat. Like we'd get the best sleep. No complaints. Did you hear complaints when you were driving?
No complaints. Now the difference is, again, when I went to Mexico with my parents, the first couple of times I went, we took it's an older Chevy or Ford, I can't remember. Same scenario. had a camper. We went in the back. It seemed like with us, it was like people that were right in the back were either too hot or too cold, depending on what season you went.
Yeah.
The reason I tell you this is we did the exact same thing with you guys. We have a '98 Chevy. I recently bought it back, and it had a camper. I put one of those what's it called, the plywood, and we put a little bit of cushion so that you guys could sleep comfortable. We did the same thing to you guys that our parents did to us. Was it the most safe? Now looking back, hell no, it wasn't the most safe, but it was like whatever we learned from our parents, we sort of try to pass it on, and everything was how to travel. You want to take the most that you can take with you, and then at the same time, you want to bring the most that you can, souvenirs and everything back, right, from Mexico. So you might not remember, but we used to, the initial trips to Mexico, that's how it was. You guys were not always in first class. Let me just put it this way. But yeah, we had fun. So when you went to Mexico, tell the audience where your mom is from and then where we're from. Initially, when you started going
where you're from.
Yeah, no, okay. So where my parents are.
So, my mom's from Jalisco. Well, Colima, Jalisco.
No. She's from. Her parents are from Colima.
Colima.
They're from Jalisco, but they moved to Colima.
Oh, okay.
And then that's where I think.
See, I've been to Colima like maybe once or twice. But yeah. Other than that, I've been to where my grandpa has his house and stuff, which is Cuchipila and El Barrio, and La Ermita.
And Jerez.
So.
And then recently, now we're seeing ourselves going more to Jalisco, right?
Yeah.
To Jalisco. So it's just growing up, taking those trips, I think has helped you guys also experience how we have it so good. I feel like more back then, because I feel like now is their technology is getting a lot better. Every time we go there, we'll start from just a simple Wi-Fi. You can get Wi-Fi anywhere, which the kids love. I don't know which kid isn't looking for a Wi-Fi. So they're really catching up as far as technology goes. But back then, the kids could see the struggle, how easy they have it here versus how a little bit harder it is in Mexico. So the trips. So now, what else can you remember from growing up with your siblings? Like you're the middle of 3 children, and then you're the girl. So you're stuck in between the middle with two boys, right?
You would think my brothers would be overprotective, and my dad can tell you that I do not listen around here to nobody. My dad will be like, no, and I'd be like, yes. But for my brothers, you would think that they'd be overprotective, and they're not. I would literally get in fist fights with my brothers.
Some of you would win, some of you would lose. And I feel that you would win maybe because
I was a girl.
Your brother would let you, but
you know what? No, because he got his fair punches and I got my fair punches in as well. So I think I have tough skin, and if anything, they gave me tough skin and taught me how to tough love for sure.
Okay, so at one point, I think it's fair to say that you sort of ruled the block, if you will. Like you would
still do.
You would tell them what to do, and they would sort of listen. And if someone knocked the door, your brother would go, "Hey, someone's at the door," and you would answer.
No, that started when the whole business side started.
We'll jump into a little bit.
We'll jump to that a little later, but
Yeah. People would knock and okay.
I had to grow up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That time.
So let me tell you this. Tell the audience how it was going to school and you bringing homework to the house.
My mom would strictly only be allowed to help me. I asked my dad one time and one time only, and I never went back. I went for you to learn how to count money. I was a third grader?
Third grader.
Learning how to count money, okay? I couldn't tell the difference between my quarters, all right? I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. My dad kept on telling me, what? I was like, no.
We weren't taught to be patient, unfortunately, Kelsey.
Yeah, and I had to sit there and be like,
okay, so you had a problem with currency, right? You couldn't tell between a quarter, a nickel, a dime, and a penny.
I was a third grader.
50-cent piece. And so I would tell you, and I specifically remember, what is this? And we start off fresh. We'd be like, a quarter, duh.
Because you started with
and
a dollar.
You got cocky, right? You start getting cocky, like a quarter, duh. A dime, a nickel. Okay, so what's this if you put it with this? And you'd be like, way off. And then I nicely explained to you that
that's not at all how I imagined that. No.
No, well, I'm saying I nicely started. I didn't say I finished nicely.
No, it started rough from the get-go. You did not want to help me with my homework. You're like, you're learning about money. Like, I know about money. How does a third grader not know about money?
Yeah.
I was a third grader learning about money. I was a smart kid though, so I give it to you, you know, like, what is that? Nickel. I could not. I tried.
And your mom was like ironing. She's like, be patient with
my
her.
mom would be ironing and she'd just be like, okay, what's your spelling words? Bring me your spelling words. Practice your spelling words. And I'd have to sit there on the table while she was ironing, writing down my spelling words, making sure I knew how to spell everything.
Watching novelas, right?
Watching novelas. Yeah. My mom was multitasking, like planchando, like, oh, it was childhood was something.
Yeah, but I don't think that we're the only ones, because there's memes and TikToks and social media out there of parents being the same way I was, not being patient with their kids as far as that learning goes. But that is sort of how I hate to say it. That's sort of how I was, I don't know, raised, because not very much patience, you know. But as you get older, wiser, I think you will have more patience with your children, you know, later on. And
I think I have patience enough with Audrey.
Yeah.
All right. My niece gives me all of the patience.
All the patience. So, you went to school. All right. Tell us, what else was interesting to you during that life, your childhood? Sports.
I think putting me in junior jazz and soccer, I didn't really have very much of a big thing for it, huh? I think I just fell over a ball one time and I never went back until I was in high school.
Yeah. You're pretty good in little basketball league or whatever.
Okay, a little basketball league, I'll give you there.
Yeah. That in itself didn't help, but you were a good athlete. You tried very hard, basketball, soccer. You to me, you know, we were your number one supporters. But it was funny because I remember every single time after those games, we'd come home and then...
Not you. You wouldn't do it so much. My mom, sometimes she'd be like, why didn't you do this? And you could have done that. And you could have... And I'm like, I could have done so much, Mom. You know, I could have.
But like putting ourselves... Like,
yeah.
Not, you know, not to brag, but I was a soccer player, right? For like 2 seasons. All right. So I give you credit. I understand you, because it's not as easy. I went on the field. I sucked. I sucked.
It's
all right.
Total different.
Yeah. So you can't. I mean, yeah. When you're a kid, because in our mindset is like, how hard was it to throw this shot? How hard was it to pass the ball? Yeah. But when you're playing against your own like age group, you can see why it's not as easy as it might seem. So
Yeah.
You realized that later.
Car rides back home were kind of
Depressing a little bit.
depressing a little bit. I like looking.
So, but if you even if you guys won, you would still hear a conversation.
Yeah, because I never did anything good. Like it was just like I could have done something better. I could have done more. Like it was never.
So you got like maybe a good 7-8 baskets in, but you could have put in 12.
I could have stolen a ball here and there, and I could have fallen here, and yeah.
So good times. I remember those times. I want to talk, but I think this is going to be more because I think we're going to fall more into depth with like your birthday parties. That we'll talk maybe in the next podcast because that itself I think is going to be big.
Okay. Yeah, they were interesting. Let me just say, I was an interesting child. My mom would say so herself. She said so herself. I was a clown every year for Halloween. For 4 years, no one decided to tell me, hey, pick a different costume. Everyone was like, reduce, reuse, recycle, and gave me the same clown costume. Yeah. I was a clown for 4 years.
Yeah.
So
we carry that in our genes too. We like to save. We like to listen. Your Halloween costumes were a lot better than mine. When I grew up, my costumes were
a clown.
No,
I was a clown.
Okay, you was a clown, but I was a ghost. You know what my costume was?
A savana.
A savana with 2 holes in them. Send my ass to school.
Might as well give me a different costume and be like, hey, Belsie, give you a savana and give me a ghost. I was a clown for 4 years.
It was good times. Fun times, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say that, you guys, I think growing up had it a little bit better than we did. I know for a fact, and I tell this to everybody, we have it a lot better than my parents did because we're doing stuff that my parents, when we were brought up, they didn't even do, right? We were just talking about the other day, some of the things because we still want to have that little bit of childhood in us, right? My parents were very reserved. They tried not to ruffle any feathers per se. They tried to get along with everybody, which we do too, but they were afraid to speak their mind in a way because they were afraid to offend someone. Where nowadays it's like, it's okay to speak your mind, just be respectful, and we can appreciate that. And that's something we pushed over to you and your siblings is you have a mind, you have a voice, speak on it, don't hold back, just be respectful. That's all we've always told you guys. If you don't talk, God doesn't hear you, right? So do you have anything else, any other stories that you have?
No, I think we should save it for
later. We have so many things I want to talk to you guys about. Something you guys can relate to us. We have conversations about our startup businesses, how my daughter and my kids were very involved in our beginning stages of our businesses. We have to talk about quinceañeras. We have to talk about birthday parties, and just there's a lot of things that. So with that, guys, we'd like to say peace out, and until next episode 2, right?
Yes.